So I would like to say I'm Angela Smith, and addiction sucks. It really does. And addiction is about being alone. And seeing someone who I truly love deal with that loneliness, it's just very hurtful. And this is what inspired me to do this project for my senior project. And this is the guidance book, Dear Children of Addiction, and How to Deal with Addiction in Your Family. It's for all children, teens, young children, and young adults who have an alcoholism or addiction in their household. And so I felt that writing this to help people who suffer from the same challenges as I do currently. I felt that it was extremely touching, even though it's not directly towards them. I felt that I felt a relief of some sort, and I think that, I think it's because it was hands on the topic, and I had epiphanies of what I should have been doing when I was younger. But the thing is, it's very different when you're younger, because a 12-year-old is very different from an 18-year-old. They have different views, and they have different experiences in life and just the time being in the world. And I just feel that it would be a different perspective if I were a 12-year-old trying to write this. I wouldn't understand it. So, what is addiction? The definition is that it's a condition that if someone engages in a substance or engages in an activity, and it's ingests and it can be pleasurable to you, but for the act being very continued, the use of the act becomes very compulsive, and the user is not always aware that they are engaged or are out. Their use of this substance is out of control. And it usually causes problems for people who they're surrounded by, and family as well. And I feel, and also the biological state of addiction is when the addict is so used to the substance that it's no longer has an effect, but it's more of a tolerance issue. And it would be like brushing your teeth. Instead of just going on with life, you would still have to do that one extra bit of routine just to keep going every day. Another form is the non-biological form, and the non-biological form differs just when temptation comes in. So for a good example of that is when an alcoholic walks into a bar and they have this extra pull to have a drink. So what did I do? So my experience with addiction in the household was based on alcoholism. And so instead I went to Al-Anon and Alateen meetings, and I feel that I was not really able to relate to the person next to me or the people that I was sitting with, just because my lens or the perspective that I had was very different. Al-Anon is family group meetings, and no matter if you are an addict or not, you can still go. It's for the friends and family. Alateen is usually for people 18 and under, and their children of alcoholics, most likely, or people who have a family member who is not a close family member. So, the reason why I wasn't really able to relate to the person sitting next to me and the people around me is just because I've been through the part where the person who I love is now sober, and so it's been like that for 2 years, and so I feel like it's very different, and I feel like my approach is more motivated instead, and I feel like it would be a negative thing for me if the person who I loved was still not sober. I felt that just because, I'm sorry. I felt that just because I had like seen the brighter part of it in being unique and living with the addiction on its own, and just knowing about it and being more educated about it, then I feel that it motivated me a little bit more than the one who is just living with the aggravation. And I think that children have that kind of aggravation thing where it's that they kind of, since they're living with it in the current, they're kind of stuck with the issue, and it's kind of, they can't be very convinced. Sometimes they can be convinced. For example, when I was 12, I was convinced in an Alateen meeting that that it wasn't my fault, that I can't control it, that just because I got a bad grade on the math test doesn't mean that this person drank. It doesn't, that has no correlation. And I was able to understand that, but we as children want the problem to end, and that's what sucks about disease. It's just, it won't go away. Even if like someone gets treatment, seeks treatment, it still stays. It's still something that the person has to work on, and I think that I'm just motivated because of it. I think that I'm motivated just because of the fact that, you know, the person has been able to be sober for such a long time, and I think that being educated on it, I was able to be more educated on it when the person was sober for some strange reason. I don't know why. So these are the 3 C's. We usually talk about something similar to this in an Alateen meeting, which is you didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. But I feel like children really just aren't, they are convinced of it, but when they're in the process of just experiencing that struggle, I feel like you just saying that to them will not help you in any way. So I really connect to these 3 statements. You know, I have experience with having OCD, and OCD patterns have grown a lot in me, and I think they still exist. For example, when I was a child, when I was like 12, I would find like a route to go to walk home, and then a route to walk back home, and I would think that would have an effect on whether I would come home to a sober person or not. And that obviously it's illogical, but it's something, it's control that you really want. And the thing is, you don't have the ability to control it. And when that would happen, when I would go through those different routes and go through that certain route and go into the home and see a sober person, I would be like, okay, this person is sober today, so if I just do this, then I would be able to, I would be able to control their pattern, as well as putting this brush in this area of the room, as well as putting these shoes over here in this corner. The patterns grew when I was very young. And I feel like I am able to control them knowing that they're illogical, but it still sticks with you. And even like with addiction, like I could still have the same patterns. I could still have the same OCD patterns, but they would be based on different things. But that rooted from being a child with addiction, and it can be a cause. So I took experience from, I took inspiration from these 3 books, 2 of which were sources that were not very related to addiction, but they were related to the connection of the correlation of relationships and problems. One was The Dance of Anger by Dr. Harriet Lerner, and the other was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. The one that I really liked the best, and I thought it fit really well with me, and it was based on addiction, was Perfect Orders. And it's a book made for adult orders of alcoholics. So I really thought that I connected later on in the book when they mentioned, do you feel that you're isolating yourself from a group of people? Do you feel that you're different from your peers? Do you feel that you are limiting yourself in other ways? And I felt, and I kind of was like, okay, this kind of connects, but in a weird way, because it has nothing to do with addiction, nor it doesn't have anything to do with the problems I have. It doesn't have any anything that's related to PTSD, but it actually does. So, yeah, I felt that this source was the best, and yeah. So my book. This was the table of contents for my book. I didn't want to share my book with you because I thought that the introduction and conclusion would be too personal to share. I do want to continue to either blog about the issue, or I do, if I'm motivated enough, I do want to grow more in the book in order to publish it. So chapter 1, what is addiction, the definition, and how to know that a family member has it, and how the child could be affected when living with the disease. Chapter 2 would be how to handle your life, even though you're living in this condition. How can you ignore, try to block away, you can't always ignore the problems, but try to block away the problems that are going on in your home, and knowing your ways and changing them. And I even mentioned 3 C's that I found interesting. And basically learning and understanding more about the disease. Many people do not know about alcoholism, how people usually think that, or addiction, people usually think that addicts have a type of, people usually think that addicts don't have willpower, they don't try hard enough, or they have like low self-esteem or something that is wrong about them, and they're not motivated in their life. But it takes much more than just feeling that motivation and taking like, it takes much more than just like being motivated in a certain sense or something. Chapter 3, taking steps forward, which is seeking help and encouragement. This is if things do get out of hand. And the conclusion was personal. So what did I learn about myself? Well, I learned that I had to look inside myself a little bit more and learn about the things that I can kind of improve about myself. Because I feel that even though the experience is in the past, there's still some sort of effect that I have. And I feel that, you know, just being a person, or is someone who is a child of substance abuse, like I feel that there's just something there that's lingering, like something, some kind of the thing that's like there, but like you can't really put your hands on it. And I feel that it reflected the behaviors that I have today, for example, the OCD. And I know the reason why. It's because I trained myself as a child. So not only did this research help me find a way to write to other children who are currently in the same situation I was in, with the same challenges I did, but it also helped me reflect on who I am today as a person. Do you have any questions?
Incredibly brave that you can make that, do that, especially having issues with obsession and compulsion. Did you, when you thought of doing this, and even in an atmosphere where there were people that knew you, like not even in the context of Al-Anon or it was assumed everyone was in a similar situation.
Yeah.
Did you think, when you first thought of doing this, you'd actually be able to stand up here and do this? Or have you sort of found that you had strength from, you know?
Well, as we saw in the presentation, I mean, it did go as I felt it would go, but I kept pausing, and I just kept like having, I don't know, just moments. Yeah, and I just feel like it's different being in front of a group of people to like, yeah. And, sorry, can you just?
Oh, no, I just think if you had 1,000 people in your situation, I don't even think one of them could do what you're doing. So I just think, you know, in terms of worrying about the
As you wrote what I'm sure will be maybe someday a wonderful resource for young people who've gone through things like you've been through. Did that knowledge that you were giving maybe some healing, make some healing for you?
Yeah. I mean, like I had mentioned in the beginning, like I thought that it was somewhat of a relief of writing it. I mean, and not just like making the product, because I feel like I could just write about it and that would be it. Because it's kind of like a diary, but like, I feel like it actually being to somebody, that makes the feeling a little bit different. I don't know how, but like, and also just learning about myself and like understanding, oh, that's why I do this, that's why I isolate myself, that's why I feel a little bit different, that's why I feel like I have a different life than everybody else. I feel like I'm some sort of protagonist or something like that. And I just kind of wonder why.
I think all these years that I've seen you, there's something very sweet about you, and then I think I felt like I wanted to approach you, but I felt also like I needed to keep the distance and I just don't know if you would have benefited from more support from us, or, I don't know, but I you know, I was never your teacher, but so seeing you there, and I was happy to see you with the choir. In TED Talks last year, I was like, who's that girl? So, but I mean, do you feel like you should have, maybe you could have had more support from the school? Or you felt fine? Because, again, was that feeling like,
Like, during the hard times, I guess, like, the school is part of, like, I feel like, I don't know, this goes back to anybody really dealing with any kind of issue at home. Just kind of, you know, or in their family, like just kind of, if you talk to somebody about it, I feel like, you know, just like making your own group of people or making your own, I don't know, connection between either teachers or friends, like who know about you, I feel like it would be pretty. But you have to, like, I feel like you still have to do it on your own because you're the only one who can actually speak for yourself, so. Yeah.
I have a comment. It amazes me, you know, I heard this a few times, how you take something so vulnerable and raw and make it a potential to create something good and to support other people and kids in your own situations. So I hope that this will be a journey that doesn't stop and that you will continue with the blog and with the book, because I think you have a lot to share from your own experience and to help a lot of other kids. So.
I'm just really proud of you. I know that you also like to write poetry, and I'm wondering, as you explored all of this, right, and really started to connect things to yourself and your experience, has it in any way fed your desire to write more poems, or have you in fact been writing poetry?
I haven't been doing that lately.
Keeping her busy.
Seriously. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this could create a good career, I guess. I haven't thought about it. Like kind of just awareness in general.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, I mean, I see this, like, that you're writing this letter to a young you, saying all the things that you wish you had and knew and had all the love and support, but also facts and knowledge, like how much strength you want to give through knowledge and accurate support. And so I love that you're writing out of all this, with all this compassion for young people, but arming them with real tools, like you're saying, you're going to strengthen somebody through this period. And I just see it in you. You're exactly that blend of strength and vulnerability and compassion. And so it really does express you so beautifully.
And articulation. You did a
Yeah.
great job articulating.